So you guys have all now been able to reprise these roles, to return to this series for multiple movies. How would you say that Dark Phoenix felt the most different from your previous X-Men experiences?
Oh.
Yeah. Just came right out.
Why don't you take
Came
this
right
away, Nick, because you've been in the most.
Four, right?
Under the bus. I've done 4, yeah. I think the main thing that felt very different about this was Simon Kinberg writing and directing. And he really wanted to get back to the emotional basis in this family kind of being torn apart by your very own Jean Grey and what she's going through. Take it from there.
Yes.
We're going to go to Evan because this is his third movie.
Oh, yeah.
We're going in order.
Yeah. What?
How did this one feel the most different from your previous experience?
I concur with Nick all the way through there. It felt much darker, more emotional. Simon was directing, more character-driven. Sophie?
I concur.
She concurs.
I agree with everything that they said.
Okay.
Well, Simon Kinberg, you guys both mentioned Simon. He's been a pillar behind this series for a long time as a writer-producer. What kind of calm or expertise does he bring to the set as a first-time director?
You just named them both.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, also he's a nerd, so it's so great.
Yeah.
Like, I mean that in the most nice way. It's cool to be a nerd, by the way, guys, because you're wondering. But he's a nerd, so when you're asking him questions about your character, he has real source-based reasons for why he does things, which is really nice. Because sometimes people will write about things that they don't necessarily know right off the back of their head. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And Simon he already knows.
Well, there have been, this is the 12th X-Men movie. Wolverine has had a couple of his own standalone movies, but this is the first X-Men ensemble that is titled after a character. Sophie, what did it mean to you to see Jean be so prominently featured?
Wow, I was just really excited because, when I first kind of got the job as Jean, I didn't think that we were going to be able to kind of play out that Dark Phoenix storyline because it had been done before, but obviously Days of Future Past reset everything. So I was just so excited to be able to explore that because I truly, truly didn't think that I was going to be able to, and it was my favorite part of her whole kind of journey was this Dark Phoenix saga. And so I was just so excited and honored that Simon kind of trusted me enough to play it out and trusted me with the character. So I was just pumped.
And obviously it's a different arc from what a typical X-man or X-woman goes through in one of these films. You go rogue. Did you enjoy sort of Breaking Bad? Does it feel good, like she says, to quote her in the movie?
I don't know if it felt good. I was away from, all of my kind of X-Men, so it was kind of sad, really. Sure. I didn't get to spend much time with everyone. But I got to spend a lot of time with Jessica, which was a lot of fun. And I was really lucky to be able to kind of get one-on-one scenes with Jess and Michael and these actors that I've looked up to for so long. So that was really exciting for me.
Yeah, let's talk about what Jessica Chastain does in this film for a second. She's literally playing an alien in a human body. It's something pretty impressive that she pulls off in this role. But what were your guys' impressions of her as a co-star and what she does in this role?
She's super method.
Yeah.
I don't think it's method necessarily, but she likes to kind of low-key stay in character.
Do you think?
100%.
I've never noticed
So she was acting
that.
like an alien as a human?
Yes.
On set? I was never on set with her really, so I don't know what it was
Yeah,
like.
remember in K-Pax where he starts eating the banana? She would do stuff like that. Just eats the whole banana. I'm just kidding.
Who eats the whole banana?
K-Pax.
Who's K-Pax?
It's a movie.
It's another movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't watch other movies.
Oh yeah, she only watches X-Men movies.
I only
oddly
watch
enough.
X-Men movies.
I mean, there's a lot of X-Men movies, so
There is.
Jennifer Lawrence has a great line in this movie where she says, "If the women keep saving the men, they're going to have to eventually call them the X-women." But as that line sort of speaks specifically to this film, this is the first time we've had a lead female character, a lead female antagonist. Is this the closest we've come to an X-women movie?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
It's not the closest we've come? Or is it, will it be?
Is this?
I
your
think
opinion?
it's the closest.
I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the
Yeah.
closest
Yeah.
we've
Yeah.
come. I think it's a great time that we're kind of in a time of inclusivity in superhero movies. We have Black Panther, Wonder Woman, Captain Marvel, this. I think the first Asian superhero movie is being written, so it's really exciting to be a part of this kind of change that's happening. And not only the inclusivity, but also, you know, as kind of Evan and Nick said, it's much darker and more emotional and character driven, and you kind of saw the same thing with Logan, and so I think we're entering a really exciting time in superhero movies.
Yeah, I also love that you don't acknowledge the fact that they're both women.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Our antagonists and protagonists are both women, and you don't acknowledge it. You just allow them to be their characters.
Yeah.
Not, you know.
Not being like,
Not their
"Wow,
gender."
Here's a token
Yeah.
woman that we're just gonna put here. And
Exactly. And guess what? Women. You know, like
Yeah.
it's super not that.
Yeah, no, it's handled very organically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's really funny.
So I assume then this was never sort of like a conversation that you guys had with Simon, where he said that this movie, he was setting out to do something sort of different in terms of the gender balance of the film.
No,
Not before
Not
we
to
got
me.
there, but I think after we got there, you know, I think he wasn't like, this is a feminist movie.
Yeah.
But he was definitely like, we're doing things differently,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And it's nice, it's refreshing.
yeah.
Cyclops joked in I think the very first X-Men about that someday these guys were going to be in, like, I think he says, like, black and yellow spandex. We actually see them in black and yellow in this movie, a few of them. How did you guys enjoy the classic look? This is a big moment for fans.
I liked it a lot. I think it was like pertaining to the idea that it was more about the tone and the emotions driving the story, not the kind of flashy outfits and explosions and bangs and things like that. So, yeah, I think it went along with it really well.
And the suits were much more comfy.
Yeah.
More comfy this time?
Yeah.
Much
Yeah.
comfier.
I definitely didn't have to
Yeah.
wear like 2 corsets and like
Yeah.
6 chicken fillets in order to like encompass this, you know, Storm's drawn as like a 12-inch waist with like a huge rack, and like that's so hard to achieve. In real life, you know, we really tried at Apocalypse. We really kept it going. It was in 2 corsets, but like now it's like, you know, they look like humans that just so happen to have powers, which is nice.
But you do have a nice rack.
Thank you so much.
You're the only one in this room that can say that.
No, it's true.
Hashtag me too. Okay, time's up on that.
Watch
right?
it, bitch.
We touched on this a little bit earlier, just in terms of like reprising these roles. I want to sort of go around the horn, starting with you, Sophie, and talk about coming into this role, what you thought was sort of the hardest aspect of your character or the experience to nail down, and how you were able to adapt to that and also sort of improve and evolve it throughout the course of these movies.
Well, I think the hardest thing always kind of the hardest thing with kind of a superhero movie in general is to try and ground it in something that will really resonate with people, and especially because this is such an emotional journey for Jean, we kind of wanted to ground all these supernatural things that are happening to her into something real. And so the things that were happening to her were not unlike schizophrenia and dissociative identity disorder and addiction. And so that's kind of how we wiggled our way into the psyche of the character. And it was really, really helpful. And so we just studied that for like 6 months.
How about you, Kodi?
I guess the thing that stood out for me was, I feel like somewhat in Apocalypse, Nightcrawler was the comedic relief, the wide-eyed, kind of timid, innocent one that had joined the group newly. But in this one, I think we see he's a bit well-versed in the time gap of all the missions that he's been on now, and he's matured somewhat. And definitely when he observes the inner turmoil that Jean's going through, he has somewhat of an arc in his frustration and an outburst, which was really nice for me to be able to show and kind of connect with the Alan Cummings portrayal of Nightcrawler.
Can you repeat the question for
Yes, yeah. One more time for the people in the back.
Yeah.
Like going into this role, this series, the biggest challenge you faced, and how you've been able to take that on and also sort of improve and evolve it into other movies.
I think for me it was just making sure that I didn't look not athletic when I was doing my stunts. I'm not athletic. And Storm is a weather goddess. And also in Dark Phoenix, she does a lot of hand-to-hand combat. So I went in with the stunt guys. I went in with Andy, who plays Red Lotus, guy with the braids. He's awesome. And he would run through the choreography with me every day. And I wanted to do a good job. I wanted her to look like a fighter. And I think that I think she did. I mean, like, I'm not gonna like dust myself off, but like, you could do it.
Yeah, she did.
Nicholas, how about you?
It was fun because, playing Beast 3 times before, this time speaking to Simon before starting the film, he wanted to push the character to a new area, and that kind of how he deals with grief and loss, and then that kind of pushing him away from Charles and the rest of the X-Men, and kind of this new path that he goes on. So that was the main aim for the role this time, just kind of seeing that darker side of Beast and how he changes from that loss.
Evan?
Yeah, I guess it was really just the tone sort of was much darker of this film, and Quicksilver is more of a, I don't know, lighthearted, fun character. So sort of making that transition and just sort of grounding everything a little bit more. Simon telling me, hey, tone it down. Dealing with that, so that was, it was great. I loved it.
How about you, Tye?
Yeah, no, I mean, exactly what all these guys touched on. I think some of the major challenges for this film were also the most exciting bits. That, it was much more grounded. It was much more, we approached it like almost like a family drama. And to what Sophie was saying, I think that what Jean Grey is going through in the movie, is a metaphor on many different levels. And I think it was just amazing to get to explore the character, and I guess and what the effect is from on the rest of the X-Men, and with what Jean Grey is going through.
The more of these movies you do they let you do more stunts? Is there sort of like a comfort level that you have to build with these guys? Or do they throw you right into the mix from the get-go?
Yeah, it's basically head first majority of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, so we get our stunt previs at the beginning, and we get to figure out like what everything stunt-wise is going to look like, and then what we can physically do, and then what insurance will let us actually do. That's a real thing. And then we kind of go from there. It just depends on how it's written, I'm like, I want to do more, and they're like, cute, but if it's not written, you're not going to do more. Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, not like it's a contest, but which of you attempted the craziest stunt? I guess we just made it a contest. Which of you attempted the craziest stunt? This is a contest.
I feel like Nick had some really good beastie stuff this time.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't me. I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about, I'm like, I don't.
What was the hardest thing you had to pull off?
I think.
Fifth Avenue?
Yeah, I don't.
On the roof, throwing them everywhere?
No, I don't think I did any of that. I just have a really great stand-up because most of the stuff, the B stuff, is so acrobatic and stuff that it's really tricky for me to pull off. So you guys probably did more complicated stuff than me. I was just.
I
sitting
don't
in the
really do
trailer,
any stuff.
You don't do any stunts?
snacking.
No, I'm telekinetic. It's just flying for me
Right,
and
it's true.
this. So
I do a lot of this.
that's true. That is tensing your abs though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I got a
Do
little.
you ever fart when you do that?
A couple times I fought.
Yeah, just a little, let it out. Let it
Get
out.
stuck in the suit.
Did anyone have
End of the
hand-to-hand combat? Yeah.
Hand-to-hand combat?
Yeah.
You probably did.
We did some hand-to-hand combat.
We got in a little.
Yeah,
got in a
you
little
have
scrap.
a tip.
Oh yeah.
There was some cool stuff on Fifth Avenue. There was, I remember running along cars and jumping and sliding down a hood and
That's
through a wall.
cool.
Wow, some
That was
That's
cool.
really
right
cool.
there.
Yeah.
Some John Wick.
back here. Seriously.
John Wick 4.
The next John Wick. Does it get less surreal to watch yourself as a mutant? The more you do these scenes, the more you do these movies?
I have to wake up 3 hours, well, both of
Yeah.
us, 4 hours before, well, it used to be, but now it's down to like a science of an hour and a half or 2 hours. But we're often staring ourselves in the face for a long time, contemplating life while we get this makeup on. So.
Where's he going with this? Contemplating.
Me too. Life. Yes. No, I'm very used to seeing myself in that, and happy to see myself out of it at times. As much of a blessing as it is to be in it.
I like it when I'm in it and I just catch myself doing like mundane things in the trailer. I'll be walking in there and I'll be like, oh god, gotta go to the toilet, and then I'll glance up and I'll be like, oh, you gotta go too, huh? That gets me.
Yeah, it's basically that horror movie when you look into the mirror and it's someone else looking back at you. In this case, it's a blue. It's Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a blue beast being.
Yeah.
Can you walk off set in costume, or would you get like a major fine from Fox?
Ooh.
I don't think it's a
There wasn't a-
fine.
Would you want to?
it's a
Yeah.
fine.
Slap on the
I
wrist.
don't know.
I mean, like, honestly, I
used to
think
go all the
hair
time
and
off set
makeup
in
would
that
be
costume.
would
I used to
actually
run
be
across
fine with
golf
that
courses
because of
in
how
it,
much
like,
goes
golf
into
courses,
taking us down every day.
Yeah.
We have
You
these
know?
awesome cloaks that we wear, specifically the blue guys. We have these fucking Harry Potter cloaks that we walk
That's
around
true.
in. Yeah.
Yeah, it is
Cover
a
them
little
up.
eyes wedged shut on set when we're all in cloaks. Like if we're on location and there's like people around and we're trying to like keep things hidden,
Right.
they'll put us all in cloaks and we'll just like we'll look like a bunch
We'll
of
all
like
hum.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's the password?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Peanut.
We knew going into this movie that this was going to be Jennifer Lawrence's swan song in this series. But what can you guys say about working opposite her in these movies? What you've seen her sort of bring to this role?
Oof. I love working with Jen. That sounded like a bad
well,
name.
I was like, where are we going with the I'm like, I thought she was cool. Like, what happened?
No, for me, I love working with Jen. For everyone loves working with
Yeah.
Jen. She brings so much light to the set. She kind of lights up the world. She's just a really fun person to have around. She makes the set a lot more fun. She'll call lunch in your takes. She'll
During
during your
She'll
takes.
call lunch during your
She'll call
takes.
lunch during your takes.
My favorite is when she said, "Get that fake. What do you call it when it's fake crab? Like imitation crab." She couldn't look at it; she'd be sick. Get the imitation crab out of my sight, in the middle of my shot. That's great.
Can I please not see the imitation crab?
How many takes did she ruin by calling lunch?
I wouldn't call it ruin.
Where was the
No,
imitation
it wasn't
crab?
ruined. It was just instead of calling cut, she just goes lunch.
Yeah.
But also, it was in moments when everyone was hungry, and
Yeah.
we all needed someone to just be like,
Yeah.
lunch.
She just spoke
You
for all
know,
of us.
yeah.
I think you never know what you're gonna get with her, right?
Yeah. You don't know if it's gonna be lunch. You don't know if like it's gonna be like over her
Dinner.
shoulder onto you, and she's hilarious.
And I imagine she had to be an inspiration, or just inspiring to see her, because she's been doing the prosthetics now for what, 4 or 5 movies, right?
Yeah. I mean, between the three of them, it's
Yeah.
just like a round of applause, man. It's
Yeah.
super not easy. And you see them when they get all of their makeup and prosthetics and hair pieces taken off, and they've got little red splotches or like
I
little
literally
patches of dry skin.
ended up with the Nightcrawler scars.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Which was
Really?
kind of cool.
Kind of cool.
That's
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah, it was
I did
kinda
overtime.
cool. Yeah.
I invested in blue paint. like 10 years ago, and now I'm very wealthy from it.
There you go. Yeah.
He's got stuff.
Yeah, between this, Arrested Development, Aladdin, blue paint's
Blue
on
paint
the
is like, there are more
uptick.
blue
Yeah,
people
it
than
is.
black people in these movies, can I tell you? And I like that.
I lost my train of thought. We won't spoil anything before the movie comes out, but I do want to ask you about one scene that is spoilery that will again run after the movie's out. But Jennifer Lawrence's big death scene. What can you guys say about that day on set? Was that pretty emotional?
Funny. Very.
Nick was just lolling the whole
Usually,
time.
yeah.
It was actually kind of weird.
Laughing.
It was pretty emotional. Well, it was for my character.
You were.
Yeah.
I was there.
was
I was there watching. It
emotional.
was pretty. There's a lot of gravity. in
Gravity.
that. Yeah. It's a lot of. It was very, very heavy in the video village.
You really hurt her.
I really hurt her.
Yeah, super messed
It did.
up.
It's just really messed up. It was very emotional, but I don't think it was her last ever day filming, was
No.
it? So it wasn't that sad.
Right.
Yeah,
Like we'll see you tomorrow.
right. She
It's
rises from the ashes like a phoenix. Also.
Right, exactly. You're like, Jen,
Yeah.
I thought you got impaled. And she's like, gotcha.
It was so quick. It was hard to tell. But which of you guys were in Deadpool 2 in that cameo? All
All of us?
Nope, Sophie
Everybody
was
saw-
not.
Sorry, I guess I should have just screen capped. So you guys can take roll call.
I'm so bitter
Yeah.
about that.
But-
Wish I was
Yeah, but you were in the ether, babes.
yeah.
Don't spoil anything.
Yeah.
Girl.
Huh?
What can you tell us about? Did you guys know sort of what they were using that for? Did you know the context of what it was going to be used for?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
reps,
did
babe.
arrive to just a big green screen room. Like none of that was actually there. It was just like 2 green screen doors and yeah. Yeah.
You knew it was for Deadpool.
But we did
too.
know it was for Deadpool.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
They
it was
kind of
pretty
explained it to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now you all share credit with Ryan Reynolds. Have you actually all met Ryan Reynolds?
No.
Has anyone
I wish
met
I did.
Ryan Reynolds?
Yes, I wish I did.
I would love to meet
Behind there.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that Ryan Reynolds?
No.
Y'all know?
I think I met Ryan Reynolds very briefly at Sundance once.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Probably.
Wait, I
wouldn't
think we
remember.
all stood on the stage with him for a second at.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
With
Ryan
Sam.
Reynolds.
We've been very close to
Stanley.
Ryan.
Channing
Reynolds.
Tatum.
Yeah.
Channing Tatum and all of them.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
we did do that. I mean, it was cool. It was cool.
And we're now only 1 degree of separation
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Stop making stuff, man.
Yes. Sophie, you had another project out this year, a TV show. It was called
A little show.
Game of Thrones. I'm sure nobody's
Throngs.
Throngs.
Yeah.
I'm sure nobody's asked you about this on this press tour. At what point did you find out how it was all going to end, and what was your initial reaction?
I found out maybe like a year and a half before the end, and my reaction, I don't know what, my reaction was numbness. I just walked around for hours and I still haven't cried about it properly yet.
Yeah.
Actually, I did a bit last night.
Oh.
I did cry a bit last night
Did you?
about it. Yeah, it's still a touchy subject.
Yeah.
So thanks for bringing it up.
So thanks for bringing it up.
I'm sorry.
Figured.
That's
I'm
okay.
just amazed to hear it was a year and a half. I mean, you had to keep that. Was there any? Do you have like like family members you could tell?
No,
like,
no, I didn't tell anyone. I told my publicist, Gertie, over there,
Uh-huh.
and Joe was on set, so he figured it out.
Uh-huh.
But, yeah, no one else.
Spoiler.
We all knew.
You all knew.
Oh, yeah. But I told everyone.
It was really hard for me not to tell people that she was going to be Queen of the North.
I bet.
You know what I mean?
It's tough.
So what would be Sansa's first move as Queen of the North?
I don't know. Probably just. I don't know.
It's all weighing on her again.
It's just all coming back, and I don't want to talk.
Are you rubbing salt in the wound
sorry,
here?
I'm
What's
Yeah, you're
going
really
on?
rubbing it in, buddy.
I'm sorry.
I don't know what she would do. I think she would just kind of, you know, hang out.
All right.
Snowman.
Bring peace to the region.
Snowman?
Yeah.
Build snowmen.
Build
Yeah.
snowmen?
Yeah.
Yeah. She'd just make sure that everyone
Yeah.
was fed and
Yeah.
recuperating well after the
Yeah.
battles, and you know, make sure everyone was good and make sure there's no other threats to the north.
Attain to all
From
the
the
third degree
outside.
Battle
burns.
party, maybe?
whatnot.
Little party.
Probably a little party. Yes. Yes.
Finally, with Disney Fox, we don't know where the X-Men are heading from here. What are your guys' hopes and dreams for the X-Men and X-Women?
I hope this is it. Don't you?
We're going to go out with a bang.
That was a
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you can't top Dark Phoenix.
Well, you might be able to. What do you guys think? Where would you like to see the X-Men go after
I
this?
think it's a good franchise to have out there in the ecosystem because it's got a lot of great messages and a lot of good themes. So I don't know. I
Yeah,
mean,
it sits
that'd be-
differently to other superhero movies
Yeah.
because they're not superheroes, they're mutants that have these powers, but in terms of what it says about society, it's very different, I think, to those
Yeah.
movies. So there's a special place for the X-Men movie, so we'll see where they go from here.
Yeah.